Hey witches and friends, welcome back to Jen Tonic. Today we're talking about black salt. No, not the fancy volcano kind that you sprinkle on your avocado toast. I mean the witchcraft kind. The powerful protection tool that keeps your home safe from negative energy, intrusive spirits, and that one neighbor who keeps pretending that they just happen to be walking by every time your DoorDash shows up. This is one of my secret weapons. So today we're covering what black salt is, how to use it, how to make it, the history, the cultural appropriation question, and yes, whether your cast iron pans are going to survive the process. Spoiler alert, I know how to use mine as a weapon, and I am not afraid to hex you if you touch it. Let's get into it. So what is black salt? Black salt, in witchcraft, not culinary circles, is basically a protection spell you can hold in your hand. At its simplest, it's ashes, salt, and protective herbs. And sometimes flakes of cast iron, which is delightfully crunchy and aggressively witchy. Think of it as a spiritual fence around your property to absorb negativity, repel harmful energy, and generally make your home a real bad vibes not welcome zone. It's powerful, it's customizable, and best of all, you make it yourself, which automatically makes it meaningful, like a handmade gift, except the gift is, I want you not to get cursed today. So, why would you use black salt? Great question. Here's why black salt absolutely slaps. It's an amazing, personalized, magical gift. If you make it yourself, you're literally putting your intention, your energy, and your time into it. It's like crafting a little spiritual care package. It protects your home and your stuff. Black salt is said to keep away negative energy, evil spirits, intruders, unwanted guests, and the guy who's trying to sell you the newest internet service in town. Number 3, it creates boundaries, both spiritually and socially. If someone is overstaying their welcome, this helps energetically. Encourage them to relocate themselves, preferably immediately. Now, is black salt a closed practice? Ah yes, the question that haunts every baby witch at 2 a.m. when they Google, is this spell cultural appropriation? The short answer is, black salt, the way I make it, is not considered a closed practice. But here's the nuance. Some people make black salt similarly to hot foot powder, which is from the American hoodoo tradition, and that is a closed practice. Hot foot powder has specific ingredients, purposes, and cultural roots. So if you're not part of that tradition, you probably shouldn't be making it or using it. Black salt overlaps in function, and some recipes overlap in ingredients, but black salt itself is widely used in European witchcraft, folk magic, modern pagan traditions, and contemporary witchcraft. So you're not borrowing from hoodoo just by making your ashes and salt mix. Where people get anxious is when black salt recipes start looking like hot foot powder. Magical cousins, but not interchangeable. As long as you're sticking to ashes, salt, and protective herbs in your own tradition, you should be fine. So no, you're not accidentally culturally appropriating from American hoodoo traditions if you follow this method. Let's get into the history of black salt. Black salt has been used in various folk traditions for protection, banishing, and purification for centuries. Different cultures had different formulations. Some used soot, some used ash, some used coal dust. But again, back to the no dinosaurs thing we covered a couple of weeks ago. A big part of the roots of black salt traditions comes to us from European folk magic, where hearth ash was used for protection, cleansing, and warding. When you mix that with salt, which also has a long history as a purifying and boundary-keeping substance, you get something that's both symbolically and magically potent. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't have a functioning fireplace in my home, so no hearth salt. I could, and have, used leftover ashes from my fire pit from a ritual bonfire, but I'm just as likely to use old incense ash that I save in a jar whenever I empty my incense burner. So basically, black salt is comprised of ash, which represents the fire element, destruction of negativity, and transformation. Salt, which represents purification, protection, and boundary setting. And herbs, which are intention boosters with personality. The result? A classic, simple, and powerful protection tool that has stood the test of time better than most of my houseplants. How often should you reapply black salt? Think of black salt as sunscreen for your home. It doesn't last forever. You have to reapply it occasionally for it to be effective. Generally, reapply it every few months, or after a big energetic event, argument, major visitors, breakups, suspiciously chaotic Thursdays, or whenever your home's vibes are feeling a little bit off. If you live in an apartment or a rental, you can reapply it to your front door about every month or so, and that can help keep the energy fresh and the boundaries firm. Also, if something in your life feels off all of a sudden, go ahead and resalt. Your intuition will usually tell you before your brain catches up. So, how often should you use black salt? There are tons of ways to use it, but here are my favorites. Sprinkle a thin line around the perimeter of your property. Pay special attention to the corners since energy tends to pool there. For apartment witches, place them along your doorstep, your windowsills, or inside small containers near entryways. You can use a little in spell jars, sachets, or protection spell bags. Some people even use it in cleansing and banishing rituals. The main idea is that you're creating boundaries, physical and energetic, and telling unwanted energy to nope right the heck out of there. So, how do you make black salt? Okay, it's time for the fun part. DIY protection magic. Here's my go-to recipe. You're going to start with some ashes. I use mostly ashes from old incense, especially incense that I have used in ritual work. You can also use fireplace or herb ash, like if you've been burning some loose incense or some herbs, whatever. If you have a little fire bowl that you burn things in, ashes left over from that, etc. Again, I stash them in a mason jar, and it lives there until I need to make some black salt. The second step, add salt. Regular table salt works, sea salt works, kosher salt works. Use what you got. Pretty much everybody has salt in their house. Just use whatever you've got on hand. And then you can add some protective herbs. This is where you tailor the energy. My non-negotiables are black pepper, which is great for classic protection and fiery stay away energy, and cayenne pepper. Cayenne pepper tends to speed up results, and it discourages people from staying for too long. It is also one of the major ingredients in hot foot powder, so make sure that we are not crossing over into that cultural appropriation that we discussed earlier. Some other amazing additions include rosemary, which is one of my favorites for cleansing and protection. I also like to include a little bit of lemon peel for clearing, brightening, and banishing. Some other protective herbs include cypress, myrrh, patchouli, rose geranium, rue, violet, and wisteria. Those are great for protection. Off of that list, I tend to keep rose geranium, patchouli, occasionally myrrh, and rue on hand. So any of those are great additions to your blend. Optionally, you can add some cast iron flakes. If you have an old pan that flakes naturally, this is a great addition. But if you touch my cast iron to scratch off pieces, I will use that pan as a weapon faster than you can say folk magic. All of mine have been passed down through my family and are at least as old as my grandmother. Also, pro tip, do not remove the seasoning from your cast iron pan. If you're going to scrape away a tiny bit, scrape it on the outside of the pan. Your next dish will thank you. And with that being said, don't try and scrape the flakes off of an enameled cast iron pan, such as the Dutch oven behind me. It simply will not flake off, and you'll damage a very expensive piece of equipment. Next step, mix everything together until the color is deep and rich and the herbs are powdered. Pour it into a jar so that you can evenly sprinkle it. A repurposed spice jar is perfect for this. Sprinkle it around the perimeter of your property. If you are in a rental multi-family unit, like an apartment complex type thing, You can sprinkle it in the corners, doors, windows if you don't have your own exterior property. Anywhere something could get in. If you live in a standalone house, around the perimeter is ideal. Now, visualization time. While spreading the salt, envision a bright blue or white light surrounding your property, unwelcome people or energies feeling uncomfortable, intruders being turned away, your home glowing like a magical entity that screams, "Do not enter unless invited." Visualization is what turns your ingredients into a spell. Final thoughts. Black salt is easy to make, powerful to use, and a great beginner-friendly tool for setting boundaries and protecting your home. And whether you're a seasoned witch or just dipping your toes into witchcraft, this is one of the most practical magical skills that you can learn. If you make your own black salt after watching this, tell me how it turned out in the comments. And if you end up banishing your annoying neighbor, I'm not saying it was a salt, but it was probably the salt. If you like this video, hit subscribe, give me a like, and drop a comment about your success with black salt. Next week, I'll be chatting with Brianna from Sweet Autumn Candles so that you can kind of go behind the scenes with a couple of candle bakers. Blessed be, and may your cast iron remain well seasoned and untouched by unwelcome hands. And as always, every accusation is a confession. Free Palestine, protect the First Amendment, and do not let up on the Epstein files yet. Survivors deserve justice.